I'm Natalie, almost 60 years old. I have 3 kids, all grown up now, and 2 of them are married. My husband passed away in a car accident when I was 50. I was in the accident too and survived, but I lost my sight in both eyes. Luckily, my kids were adults by then. They helped a lot with everything around me until I got used to my new life. Now, my eldest son, Jack, and his wife, Brooklyn, live close by. They built their own house near mine and come to check on me from time to time. They offered to live with me, but I refused. I didn't want to be a burden on Brooklyn or make her feel uncomfortable. The house where we all lived together was too big for just me, especially with 2 floors. My kids were worried, so we sold it. Now I live alone in a small apartment. I managed to make a living from home-based work despite losing my sight. The shock was big at first, but now I've accepted it and feel stable in my life. Then one day my youngest son, James, told me he wants to get married. His partner's a colleague from work, and they're about the same age. That's wonderful! Congratulations! I was thrilled, even though it was a phone call. I wanted to hug him and celebrate, but I kept my voice calm. However, James didn't sound too cheerful. Thanks. I was concerned, but didn't want to pry. He's an adult after all, and might not like his mom meddling. There's something else, James said hesitantly. I tensely waited for him to continue, wondering if it was bad news. She's pregnant. Oh, that's great news. I was relieved it wasn't something bad. Why was he so hesitant? Shotgun weddings aren't unusual these days, and a new life is a reason to celebrate. I was overjoyed, but James still sounded down. What's the matter? I couldn't help but ask. He just responded with a faint, and didn't elaborate. We'll bring her over soon. When are you free? He changed the subject. I guess he didn't want to talk about it. I told him any time was fine, worried, but not pressing further. He said he'd call back with a date and ended the call. I wondered why he sounded so down, despite the happy news. I tilted my head. A few days later, the day to meet her arrived. I was nervous, checking the apartment repeatedly to make sure it wasn't messy. We had planned to go out for a meal, but she had some errands, so they couldn't stay long. I wanted to make it special, so I asked Brooklyn to buy some treats from a famous bakery, hoping she'd like them. The anticipation made me anxious. Hours later, the doorbell rang. I stood up and headed to the door. Coming in, I heard James' voice. Excuse us. A sweet young female voice chimed in. Then I felt James' presence as he walked in with her. Mom, let's sit. He guided me back to where I was before. I was prompted to sit and took my seat. Occasionally, I caught a whiff of a sweet scent, probably hers. Judging by her voice and smell, I imagined she was a cute girl. Welcome. Sorry about the cramped space, I said, facing where I thought she was. What is this place? I heard her mumble quietly. James softly chided her with a, stop it. Feeling a bit awkward, I stood up to make coffee, but James stopped me. What are you doing? He took my hand and helped me stand. I appreciated his kindness, but in front of his girlfriend, I worried he might seem too much like a mama's boy, so I gently removed his hand. I'm just making coffee. Sit tight. Don't touch the hot water. I'll do it. It's warm today, so I have iced coffee already. Don't worry. James is always so concerned about me. He calls often, not every day, but frequently, always asking if I need anything or if I've had any troubles or injuries. Sometimes I wonder who's the parent here. Yuck, James, a mama's boy? I heard her giggle. See, just as I thought. I asked James to sit down and expertly poured the coffee into cups, then brought out the treats I'd gotten earlier. Sorry there's not much. Really, feels low income, she remarked, laughing. James tried to stop her, but I waved him off, telling him it's okay since it was true. Nice to meet you. I'm Madison, she said after a bit of laughter, finally calming down. I responded in kind. Nice to meet you. I'm Natalie, James' mom. Just the name sounds fancy. Madison burst out laughing again when I introduced myself. James scolded her more seriously, but it didn't seem to affect her. She continued making snide remarks, but I didn't let them bother me. Eventually, James, reaching his limit of frustration, left with Madison less than an hour after they arrived. He later apologized, but I reassured him that I wasn't upset, which seemed to calm him down. While it would be a lie to say I wasn't hurt at all, at my age, I'm not about to dwell on every word from a young woman. Maybe it's just the difference in life experiences. Having gone through so much, I'm not easily upset by words like those. A few days later, James mentioned wanting to have a Meet the Families event. It makes sense since they're getting married and will become one big family. I agreed to the meet, but James seemed reluctant. If you don't want to, it's okay to say no. After last time, I understand. James let out a heavy sigh in front of me. I couldn't help but laugh. What are you saying? Don't worry about me. I'm not the kind of mom who gets down over words like that. Maybe, but it's me who doesn't want to. I could almost picture his moody expression. I wondered what he was so averse to. I wish James wouldn't worry so much, given I'm okay, but maybe it's tough for him, being such a caring son. How about asking Jack to come along in Dad's place? He's good at handling these situations, and with Jack there, things won't get awkward. Jack, being a young CEO, is quite capable. He's good at communication, dealing with many adults, and could smooth things over if James gets upset again. Jack, huh? Yeah, maybe I should ask him. Don't want to leave you alone, Mom. James seemed okay with bringing Jack, so I called him to come to the Meet the Families. With Jack there, I wouldn't have any trouble getting around. Jack was also looking forward to meeting James' girlfriend and her parents. Jack had taken time off work for the meet, but an urgent matter came up, so he had to join us later at the restaurant. Brooklyn dropped me off at the restaurant, and I managed to arrive safely. She hurried to get Jack there too, but I told her there was no need to rush. Waiting outside, James took my hand and led me into the restaurant. The restaurant was quiet, with faint music playing in the background. It smelled like a fine dining establishment. We've got a private room set up. Madison's parents are already here, James informed me while guiding me. I felt a bit nervous, but entered the room. Sorry for being late. I'm Natalie, James's mom. I greeted as we entered. I heard chairs move as if someone stood up. Pleased to meet you. I'm Madison's mom, Avery. Come on, say hello. Hello, I'm Dad, Samuel. A cold, unfriendly male voice followed a soft female one. James guided me to a seat. Everyone's here, so let's order something. What would you like, Natalie? Can you eat seafood? Any allergies or dislikes? Feeling the tension in the air, Avery kindly asked me. I smiled towards the voice. Thank you for asking. I'm fine with anything. I'll choose for Mom. Should we get some drinks? How about alcohol? James and Avery smoothly decided on the food and drinks. Madison was silent, and occasionally I heard Samuel chewing loudly. Avery seemed nice, but I couldn't form a good impression of Samuel. I kept smiling, trying not to show my thoughts. That smile is creepy, Samuel remarked, clearly annoyed. Stop it, Avery quickly interjected. I felt awkward and relaxed my smile a bit. Can she really not see? Hey! Ignoring Avery's protest, Samuel's voice grew closer, as if he was leaning forward, testing my reaction. It was frustrating to be treated this way by an adult, not much different from me. Despite Avery's efforts, Samuel kept laughing and making derogatory remarks. Seriously, marrying someone with parents like this, you can't be happy. She'll just be a burden. Madison, you should reconsider, he said, sounding bored with my lack of reaction. Madison laughed, replying, Well, we have a kid on the way. No choice there, right? Fortunately, James isn't a low income like you, but an elite from a famous company, so Madison won't have any troubles there, Samuel continued, laughing heartily. I sighed internally, wanting to leave, but managed to smile at Samuel. Yes, I'm lucky my son is so kind. He takes good care of Madison and even helps me out. I'm truly grateful. I tried to lighten the mood by praising my son, but upon hearing my words, there was a loud noise as Samuel aggressively pushed back his chair. An allowance? His voice wasn't mocking anymore. It sounded angry and low. I could tell that Samuel had stood up and I had said something to upset him. In a panic, I turned toward where I thought James was and searched for his hand, which he gripped back in response. Yes, is there a problem with that? How much are you giving her? $1,000 a month. James replied calmly, though the grip on my hand tightened, betraying his agitation. This old lady living on a pension is just a burden to your girlfriend. Stop wasting money on her. No more allowances. Living on a pension? I'm not old enough to even receive one yet. As I thought this, my anxiety grew. I feared that James's marriage could be ruined because of me, that I was causing him distress right now. Really? $1K? You've never even bought me a bag. Madison chimed in, sounding dissatisfied. The allowance isn't stopping. It's my way of giving back a little to Mom for raising me. What? This old lady will just drag you down. You should be spending on your future child and Madison, not her. Who's more important to you, James, this old lady or your daughter? The atmosphere had become too hostile for me to diffuse. While I was tense and anxious, Avery stood up and tried to calm Samuel down. Then there was a loud thud, a heavy sound. It was clear that Avery had fallen, likely pushed by Samuel. I stood up and groped my way towards Avery. Are you okay? I managed to reach Avery, who replied softly, I'm fine, and grasped my hand to stand up. Spending even $1 on her is a waste, Samuel continued, not caring that Avery had fallen. Avery kept apologizing to me. I started to think that maybe for James's sake, it would be better to cut ties and never interact with Madison's parents again. If you keep insulting Mom, it will affect you, James warned amidst Samuel's ongoing tirade. The tension in the air was palpable. Ha! What can this old lady do? Is that a threat? Don't want to marry Madison? Samuel scoffed, then grabbed my arm and shook it. Maybe Samuel is in good physique. He must have been physically imposing, as his large hand shook me significantly. What are you doing? Just as James rushed to intervene, the private room's door opened. Sorry I'm late. I'm James's brother, Jack. What's happening here? Jack's voice came through the door, and he quickly realized something was wrong. Naturally. Avery on the floor, Samuel gripping my arm, me reaching upwards, and James trying to stop him. Clearly the situation was abnormal. Hey, what are you doing grabbing someone's mom like that? Jack immediately came over and urged Samuel to let go. Samuel released his grip. My arm hurt from being shaken, and Jack noticed me rubbing it. Asking if I was okay, I replied I was fine, then heard Samuel muttering something. I turned towards him, straining to hear. Why are you here? The CEO. Samuel's voice trembled with evident shock. Oh, you work at my company? Sorry, there are so many employees, I can't keep track, Jack said to Samuel. It turned out that Samuel was an employee at Jack's company. James, what's the meaning of this? Samuel demanded an explanation from James. James explained right away. My dad was the former CEO of the company you're working for. Now Mom is the acting CEO, but since she's blind, my brother is handling it on her behalf. Mom often goes to the company to meet with shareholders and the CEO for work. So essentially, Mom is your boss. James guided me to sit down and sighed deeply. Then he murmured softly, just loud enough for me to hear. I was going to explain if things stayed calm. Wait, what? Your brother's the CEO? You didn't tell me. He's handsome. In the irretrievable atmosphere, Madison, with her youthful naivete, raised her sweet voice and clicked her heels toward Jack. I might switch to your brother. It was clear from her voice that Madison was making advances on Jack. Jack, slightly flustered, called out to James. James sighed heavily again, and then there was the sound of something heavy being dropped. I can't marry Madison. I decided that today. I was going to stay silent. But the child in your belly, it isn't mine, is it? Wow, what's this? Pictures of her with various men? While James spoke in a low, firm tone, Jack's tone was humorous and light. Apparently what was laid before them was evidence of Madison's infidelity. The situation was clear, even without an explanation. What are you talking about? It's your child? Madison's voice pitched up, showing her distress. Now I understood why James had been upset. Then let's do a DNA test. If it's really mine, you'll agree, right? We don't need to do that. The Meet the Families had completely derailed. As I stayed silent, observing, Avery quickly intervened before Madison could make a scene. Enough. James, Mom, I'm deeply sorry for my husband and daughter's behavior. We will handle everything through lawyers from now on, including compensation. For today, let's just... Mom, wait! I guess I should say Mom. True to form, Avery firmly scolded Madison and bowed her head. This silenced James, and we all decided to leave. Samuel, who hadn't spoken since Jack's arrival, was pale with shock as Jack gleefully informed us. In the car, James seemed relieved, laughing that he was glad to be breaking up with Madison. The tumultuous time had ended, but I was left confused for a while, trying to make sense of it all. Eventually, James ended things with Madison. No compensation was paid as they weren't married, and James declined it. Regarding Samuel, Jack conducted an investigation at the company and found his work attitude and lack of trust from colleagues problematic, and decided to transfer him to a different department with a stricter boss. Jack thought Samuel would likely resign soon. I also received a call from Avery personally. "I'm truly sorry for what we did to you, Natalie. Money can't make up for it," she said, sounding on the verge of tears. I reassured her not to worry and speculated she might have a harder time ahead with Samuel and Madison's pregnancy issues. "No, it doesn't matter anymore. I've divorced him." Apparently Avery had had enough of being pushed around by Samuel and Madison. Madison angrily left home, and Samuel readily signed the divorce papers, claiming, "You can't do anything without me." They'd likely fall without Avery. "I'm still concerned about the child in Madison's belly, so I'll keep minimal contact with her," Avery said, laughing bitterly, before ending the call. Though James's marriage and child were unfortunate, I hoped for his happiness and looked forward to hearing from him again.